You reported yesterday that Zion isn't anywhere remotely close to coming back for the Pelicans, even if they win their their next couple of games. That he might. So I guess here's the deal. Simple question: what gives? What's going on with him, Shams?
Well, right now it's really a conditioning situation, and anytime you have a player like Zion Williamson, his body type, the specimen that he is, he's unique, one-of-one player that we're ever going to see in today's NBA. 6'6", the way he's able to jump and move, and the fluidity that he has when he's healthy, it's very unique. And so when he has a lot of these lower body injuries, it's a matter of reconditioning, getting in basketball shape, making sure that he's 100% so that he's not susceptible to further injury and worse injury when he's back on the floor. So I think the conditioning, the gap between conditioning and body healing is still there, and it's a wide gap from what I'm told right now. And I think the Pelicans are operating under the belief that he will not be available throughout their first round series if they do get there, and that he's not relatively close to making a return. He's going to be out for this play-in tournament. They've already ruled him out for the play-in tournament. David Griffin, their head basketball executive, he said that Zion Williamson may not get there. He, as far as the point of being there condition-wise, and that he, hopefully will be able to start practicing at some point during the first round of the playoffs. But with a guy like Zion Williamson, there are multiple progressions he has to have and be comfortable with before he can enter the floor. And he's had multiple setbacks throughout his career already when he's been coming back from injury. So that's something the Pelicans have to be cautious with and mindful of.
So is there any frustration that you sense from the organization coming out of New Orleans about how patently disappointing his first few years has been with them?
I think the roster, there's been a level of, it would be great to have Zion Williamson back. So there's the only level of frustration is when he's on the floor, this is a team that's contending for home court advantage. So there's frustration in not having him on the floor, and that he so far this year, unfortunately, since January, has not been able to get back to the floor. But I think throughout the Pelicans and David Griffin's era there and his tenure there, they've been pretty hands-on in terms of being cautious with the way, the way they've handled him, and that they're not just going to bring him back out of frustration and out of just desire of him being on the floor. Because if that was the case, I think he would have potentially been back by now. But they're going to be careful with him, and I think we've seen that throughout his tenure in New Orleans.
And Ja Morant, obviously the two of them are going to be connected for forevermore. He's the 2 seed, or he is part of the 2 seed, and part of the reason why the Memphis Grizzlies are the 2 seed. And he's going to have a front row seat, huge spotlight on him, everything that happened in Denver and his suspension, and now he's back. Is there any lingering concerns there that, or he's turned the page, different guy, and the playoffs he's set to make his mark in a way that we all expected him to? Sean?
No, I haven't heard any lingering effects. I mean, of course, this is something we have to continue to monitor, and
right.
Something that off the court continue to monitor, but he hasn't been as active on social media. And I think that the Grizzlies organization, Ja Morant, the locker room, they all wanted this distraction, this cloud to just leave. And so far, it has been gone. He's
right.
been pretty locked in. This team is looking like it's ready for a deep playoff run. If they play the Lakers, that'll be a very, very interesting series. But all along, the Grizzlies organization, his teammates have wanted him back on the floor, and we're ready to embrace him with open arms.
Okay, last couple for you here. Paul George, what's his status entering?
He will be sidelined to begin the playoffs. They play game 1 on Sunday. He will not play, and I'm told it's indefinite when he's going to be back. He has yet to be ruled out of this first-round series, and I am told he is making some progress with his return from that knee sprain that he suffered on March 21. Mm-hmm. But he's a guy that hasn't progressed yet to contact and scrimmage work and all the like. I think a lot of his work right now is exercising, therapy. He still has a brace on his knee. So doesn't particularly sound like someone that's just going to come back in a week or so. I think it's still going to take him some time to ramp up, and I think the Clippers are prepared right now that they're going to have to play on without Paul George for at least a little bit longer.
And what is your belief, crystal ball it, the MVP race, from what you hear and from your colleagues, and what you think the voting will turn out to be for the MVP this year?
Yeah, when I speak to players, I think Joel Embiid seems to be the consensus MVP in the players' eyes. Of course, they don't vote for the award.
Right.
But I think the momentum that he has definitely carried over the last month of the regular season. But when you look at the race, him, Giannis, Nikola Jokic, I think they all have a case for MVP this year. That's what makes this league, I think, right now, it probably at its most pure level, the amount of parity.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.